Hey, Plantation Golf Club. My name is Brandon Jones. I'm the general manager here, and I'm with Chris Adams, our golf course superintendent. We're going to provide you guys with a little update of what's going on. We're going to talk about the sprigging that they did on number 6 fairway last week, and some weekly closures that we have coming up, and a new par 3 course that we've got set up for you guys. So let's just get started off, Chris. The course closures. So we talked about this earlier. We're going to close Cranes on Wednesdays,
Yep.
and Otter is going to be closed on Tuesdays. So on Tuesdays, Cranes will operate normal shotgun start 8:30, right? You guys will be set up for that, and then
Yep.
on Wednesdays, Otter will be a shotgun start at 8:30. A little.
That's my son.
There you go. Hey,
I'll call him back.
absolutely.
Not the one that works here, the
Love
younger one, but I'll call him back.
Perfect.
So we this particular week for the closures Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll be doing our second round of applications for herbicides.
Okay.
I have 2 different programs on herbicides. I alternate them back and forth. But one of them requires being watered in. I'm also throwing insecticides in there while we're at it because of the cricket pressure we've been seeing lately.
Sure.
So, but the applications have been working. I'm seeing growth coming back in those areas. So that's working out really well for us. And actually, we're going forward with preventative maintenance on the crickets as well. So that's not going to be an issue. But because we need to water in those applications, that's why I've chosen those closures for this coming week to do those. That way, we don't have to worry about, we're going to be running water everywhere. So to not get people wet and to not be in the way, we'll be able to do that efficiently. And literally just be able to go and spray and water and do everything we need to do that day. Week 2, the closures, looking at getting measured for sod, seeing what we have left, and preparing with mainly Sue, but with the volunteer team on how to get us most efficiently prepared to handle the sodding project.
Right. And right now we have the closures going through October the 1st for weekly course closures. If we need to go more, if we have to, we will. But of course, getting into October, it's going to start getting into our busy season.
That'll
so
enable
we
us.
really don't want to be close too much. But from a agronomy and maintenance standpoint, how much does that help you guys out?
Yeah, that'll enable us to not only do those herbicide and insecticide applications and not only do those sod jobs, but we'll do things like top dressing, and that won't disrupt play or anything. We can just throw the sand, let it dry, drag it in when it's time, and that'll help with the recovery efforts as well, and all kinds of different things. We can vent them again before the season really starts. We can do all kinds of things.
And this is, not to interrupt you, but this is the beauty of having 36 holes.
Absolutely.
You can have one course closed on one day, one on the other, and you always have a place to play.
That's right. Yeah. Always being able to shut one down and keep one open. Always having one open. That's the important part. So.
Absolutely it is. So in doing that, the par 3 course, you set up a par 3 course for us with some green tees.
That's right.
On the Otter of front 9.
Front 9 Otter. They add up to 954 yards.
Yep.
The longest hole is number 1 at 184, so that's kind of a long par 3 for some. I don't remember the exact yardage of the shortest hole, but we have a 75 and a 77 in there somewhere. I think 5 of them were just over 100. 4 of them are just under. That might be reversed. I'm not sure. But the point is, they're give or take 100 yards a pop. So
we've already had some people go out and play it and said how much fun it was.
I've seen that. So I was like, oh, they're using them. That's cool. So, but I think the idea is to get something new to try.
Sure.
For maybe some people that don't have 4 hours to try the game of golf that have never played. Try the hour or 2 method, and
I agree.
Coming out on a slow day and try that par 3 course out.
All right. Well, now let's jump on over to hole 6. We'll take you guys over there and show you the update on that. We have a video that we're going to show prior to this or right after this of what Chris did last week of the sprigging and stuff.
That was a fun day.
Awesome. See you guys over there.
All right. So drove up to the Villages this morning. I picked this bad boy up. This is basically just a 5-reel fairway unit, but modified with verticutting reels. These verticutting reels are set at 1 inch, so they do go 1 inch deep into the soil, and they pull up sprigs of verticut. So actually we're giving this rough on number 7 quite the grooming while we're doing this, but the purpose was to harvest these sprigs. And what we've got some of the volunteers and some of my staff doing here this morning is they are harvesting these sprigs, and we've got some nice nodes and that we can plant that'll tap down roots, more so than we did on the zoysia. Over there, all I really got was blade. But these nodes, each segment will tap down a root, and we just got to cover it up real good with the mulch and sand, and we will be growing some Bermuda grass. So that's in
Awesome.
that area. That's the piles we're harvesting right now. We'll load them up in carts and move them over.
Fantastic. Hey guys, I just want to add to this of like how innovative this is for Chris, kind of thinking outside of the box with all of this, because he's saving us a lot of money doing this. It's not really costing us other than just labor, and Brightview had the equipment here that we could borrow. Because Chris, if we decided to sod that area, how much are you thinking that would cost plantation?
We're looking at a full truckload. I mean, the freight with that could have been upwards of $5,000 to $6,000 with a full truckload of sod plus the freight out of the nearest sod farm, probably be in Tampa. Yeah, and seed would have just taken way too long. We could have got a few bags of seed and tried that, but Bermuda seed, has to really blend together. So having these sprigs, I've actually done this before too. Having these sprigs and planting the sprigs like this, and the key will be keeping on top of it, keeping them wet until they start to really move together, and obviously keeping them fertilized. And we'll get them, and then by fall or so, we should have a nice little stand of turf there. So we'll probably be playing that as a par 4 for a few months, maybe 2 months, something like that. So.
No, and that's completely fine. But the point that I want to make out of this is just how innovative, kind of thinking outside of the box, and saving us money
for sure
in the long run with all this. And we're going to get a pretty good playing surface over there.
Yeah, no, 6. This is a beautiful stand of Bermuda that we're pulling from. So
sure.
It and like I said, it'll benefit the 7th rough hole as well.
Absolutely.
The 7th hole rough as well.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much for all the work that you and your staff do.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys, we're out here on number 6 fairway with Chris. So how do you think it's going over here, Chris?
Well, I think I'll say it's not as exciting as I hoped it would be, but I think what we're seeing is we're definitely seeing some sprigs that have taken. From here we just push as hard as we can and get these Bermuda runners going, and see how fast we can fill the area in. But it was a great effort, and I mean, here we focus in right here. You can see these are planted sprigs right here. This is one that was planted. Here's some some good growth coming off of it, so we're getting them. It's just a matter of pushing them and getting them to fill in. I think in my head I'm just really optimistic and wanted it to just happen.
Sure.
But we're keeping the water to it. We got some good rain last night, that's helping, and I'm excited about just getting out here and pushing, and we'll get them to fill in one way or the other. So.
Great job, Chris. Thank you so much. I mean, this is another example, like I mentioned before, thinking outside of the box and not really costing us a lot of money, but it could yield dividends for us later on.
Yeah, just some sort of vegetation on the ground is what we're going for here.
All right, guys, we're back from number 6. We're going to kind of give you guys our final thoughts on what's happening over here. Chris, you got any final thoughts you want to leave them with?
Yeah, well, the bottom sprigs over there are taking. I think the top layer of sprigs that are more exposed to the sun are serving as more of an organic top dress, so to speak, to help us take root. So that'll be a little bit of a process. It'll probably be a month and a half, probably, before we can get back on that. And then, while we're on the topic of things growing back, we had a video a couple weeks ago where we talked about the mutation checking out on the greens on Crane's Roost. I think a lot of people were concerned. It looks like things are going backwards, but in actuality, it was just more progression. The mutation has checked out, and we are now keeping those products to keep the mutation away and filling in with pure Tiftorf grass. So basically, in the long run, we'll have pure greens that have only one type of variety, one variety of grass on them. And
so kind of you felt like you took one step back last week. Now we've taken 2 steps forward.
Yeah,
right?
And it was never really a step back.
Okay.
Like, the mutation checking out, let's call the mutation weeds, for easier, to make it easier to understand. So, that mutation, that weed, so to speak, has completely checked out. And now we had those voids again. And just like we did once before, we're getting them to fill in. And the fill in is going really well over there. I'm really excited about that.
Fantastic. Well, guys, that kind of wraps things up for this video. If you guys don't now, please go ahead and like and subscribe to our YouTube page, and we'll catch you guys next time.
All right.